Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, and this is going to end up being another video where I just quickly go over things because it's been covered before in a previous video, more or less. But we're going to get the Rahab rematch, and somebody else is reappearing as well, who's shown on screen right here, which is Dark Amaterasu. If you don't have her, please try to get her. She's a very, very powerful Dark Kamihime, but she's also limited, so keep that in mind. But anyways, this is definitely the same as last time, except for a few changes. The Rahab knife can get final break limit, so those of you that's been doing guild order, you might want to pay attention to this one because it's a large assault with a small defender. That's pretty good. And then on top of that, there's another SSR, which ends up being a lance right here, where you get assault, a medium assault, and then there's a stinger with it. Stinger being the critical hit rate. And Stinger is a little bit underrated in my opinion, but to each their own because it's still luck based no matter how you really look at it, unless you somehow get 100% in Stinger. But that's the whole thing with it. It will give you a chance of getting a critical hit, which will increase the damage you deal for that. Generally speaking, if I was to go after Stinger, I would get maybe roughly like 50% of it, because I've also heard that the more Stinger you get, the less effect it has. Meaning that, for instance, I don't know exact numbers, but for example, if you have like 10% in Stinger and it goes off, then you'll double your damage. But if you have 100% in Stinger and it goes off, you only get like 20% more damage. I don't know full numbers on it, but honestly, I would just get the halfway point and then just decide from there if you're actually going after Stinger. But here's what really has me, because I'm noticing these little burst effects too when you equip these certain weapons. The Rahab knife automatically applies drown before, but now when you burst, it puts drown on everyone, not just the person you hit with the soul's burst. And then if you put this new lance on, it can apply Rampage, Dizzy, and Defense Down to everything. And Rampage is actually pretty good, but the Dizzy and Defense Down, that could probably screw you over. So it's like, I don't know. Most people are going to probably have weapons from catastrophe fights anyways, but if you don't, then a final break limit weapon usually deals like an extra amount of burst damage too, so that's the thing. But speaking of dealing with bursts and whatnot, be very careful in this fight because Rahab has less orbs than most bosses when it comes to filling up her burst. In Ultimate, 2 turns to charge before she'll let off her nukes. In Ragnarok, 1 turn. So what that means is the fact that since you start off with 1 orb and raging when you use your burst, these bosses will end up bosses with 1 orb like Rahab and even a fire catastrophe we already got, they'll keep nuking you and nuking you and nuking you. So having something that can extend the charges they need or even remove some of them can actually help you out. But remember, Ultimate has 2, Ragnarok has 1. And you're going to take a large amount of damage, period, point blank, because she's going to love buffing her attack power, and she can do it in 2 separate frames, so it can get very dangerous very quick if you don't remove at least one of them, or just take her out before things become a problem. Her normal one, she'll deal a lot of damage to one person. Her raging one, she won't deal as much damage, but hit the whole team. So, yeah, keep that in mind. And like I said, final break limit for the Rahab knife, so save up your materials just in case. Because that's the one thing you need to remember when it comes to final breaking some of these Advent weapons. You need materials from the Advent event itself, so you need to save up some just in case you want to final break it later down the line. So factor that in. And then there's the standard stuff that you can do where it's like fighting 5 times, clearing certain stages without elixirs, clearing certain stages with rarities below certain points. The one that really matters, because it's the only one that really changes between these, is you have to deal with Ultimate with a win team. So if you want to deal with all the Ultimate missions in one shot, clear Ultimate with an R team that's also wind and no elixir. So that will kill all 4 of those missions in one shot. Personally, I'm beyond strong, so my light team will just absolutely smash this. Even my win team should, because they're pretty strong too. But more or less that's what you're gonna deal with. And like I said, limited edition Amaterasu is very, very good for dark teams. You want her. You want her. So if you can, try to pull her. But at the same time, you may want to save some resources because we're supposed to have another one that's coming out pretty soon too. Because this is a rerun, I don't know if it's going to go alongside a different event or not, but I do know for a fact that we're going to get White Nikkei pretty soon, who's extremely good for light. So that's also going to happen later down the line. But anyways, that's more or less what's going down with this event. I'm not going to do too much on it. And here's a misconception about Rahab too. Granted, her stats aren't too good, and then you don't really want her as a main effect, but the thing you gotta factor into is the fact that some of these Adolans do have some very good summon effects. Like Rahab protects you against thunder damage. In some cases, you won't need it, but in others, you can. In the case of say you're using a wind team to take on thunder enemies, Rahab and your sub slots can actually help you get some little extra protection. Of course, you still want to use other stuff over it if you have it, like, say, Kaisers or something, but if you don't, that's something to keep in mind. So you may or may not want to keep her. Another reason why is because I found this one thing out after somebody on Harem Battle Club actually ran the numbers. But apparently, if you have a really high amount of assault on your grid, have enough elemental boost between the relic weapons you get from the catastrophe fights and your lead Idolan, and then you're facing somebody with elemental advantage while having 100% Idolan. It's like a lot of stuff that got to go into play, but you should be doing anyways. If you try and draw out as much elemental attack as you can with a grid that's like as strong as mine, which is around 130% assault, it could be lower, then you'd be better off actually having a character attack Idolan over an elemental one for your main. Because that's the whole thing. You'll be dealing less damage than you should be. For instance, I have Barong. So if I were to take all my stuff, which is like a 30% increase for my soul weapon, use Barong, use Monogarmer, because you should be aiming for 100% Idolans anyway, and then go take on any content but dark, that will maximize my damage. But if I go after a dark enemy, then I should be taking someone like, say, Yule Goat, who we just got, because she gets character attack. Because I will also not only be dealing more damage, but I'll also get extra HP as well. So it's really increasing both my assault and defender and my damage output. So that's something to keep in mind. So you may or may not want to hold on to some of these Idolans that have character attack. Maybe the one that gives you the best boost. So keep that in mind. But anyways, that's all for this video. I'm going to try and get Amaterasu, but I'm not going to try and add money for her or anything, because honestly, I'm not too focused on my dark team, but I will be pouring any resources I have into the gacha when I get them. But anyways, that's all for this video, guys. More of this is going to come soon, because of course I'm doing Ragnarok fight. And that's all for now, guys. Take care.